Greetings friends, welcome. Today we're looking at TailWind CSS. What is TailWind CSS? Well, I've got the web page up here for it. So the first thing it's saying is it's a utility for a CSS framework. We shall find out what that means in a minute. I've taken a little look at it. Seems pretty exciting. I'm going to be using it. The main benefit, it has a lot of benefits, I think, but at its core, the main benefit is it's going to replace this traditional method of writing your own CSS files and creating these classes with semantic names that you have to do. If I look, the website we're going to use for this example is my Smudge the Beagle website, and so in here, when I'm creating the content, I'm doing things like, I want to put one element above another, or side by side, and so rather than putting the style in there, I'll create a class, and then you've got to give it a name that's meaningful. And so you start creating this file, and you've got these containers and vertical list, and then side by side, and what you're effectively doing here is writing TailWind. So I guess the question is, why not just use TailWind? The barrier to entry is that you've got to learn the TailWind names. So basically TailWind has created these, maybe slightly lower level than that, and use it as building blocks, but you've got to learn those names. But once you have, then you're good to go, and you can use that across all of your sites. Then would I reuse my semantic names here on another site? It's probably not. I'd probably just start from scratch and write them again. But either way, I've got to create this, and then I've got to maintain it as well. And also it's a little bit hard in that you've got these classes, and then you're going to have your responsive design in here. So that vertical list, when the screen is wide, might want to go side by side, and when small, go want a column one up on the other. So you've got to create these media entries as well, and it certainly adds that responsive design for you for free. You'll see that in the example here. So I had a previous video where I was talking about importing ES modules and how that took a weight off using CSS. And I think this then takes that another level, and you're not even going to have to import them. They're all going to be there. You've just got to learn them, but then you don't have to maintain them. And this gets hard, and it gets hard to remember. So it looks a little ugly when you use TailWind, because you actually end up putting quite a few tags in. So it's a bit verbose and ugly, but yeah, maintainability, is good. It's good. We'll jump in and have a look. But before we do, if you find yourself enjoying the video, feel free to click that subscribe button below. Get updates for future videos as well. All right, what I'll do first, like I said, I'm going to add it into my existing website here, which at the moment is using ES modules. So we're going to convert it over, well, a little part of it in this demo, and then I'll do the rest offline. We'll convert it over to TailWind. So I've gone here to TailWind itself and the setup for Gatsby. My site's Gatsby website. So this bit, you might be interested in this, but chances are you're not using Gatsby. So I'll you can either skip through this bit. I'll put a timestamp to where we start talking about it, but I'll go through this now anyway, because I need to. Right, so we've got a few things to install here. So let's get those in. Gatsby plugin, postCSS, TailWind, postCSS latest, auto prefixer, all good stuff. Let's add that in. While that's doing that, I need to create a tailwind.config.js and a postCSS. Okay, well, this command will do that for me, I guess. This will certainly create the TailWind. Okay, so we've got that one created and we've got those installs. Looks like I don't need to do anything else in there. One of the other things I'm excited about TailWind is it provides very easy dark mode implementation, so that will be interesting to add in. Yeah, we won't do that in this, but it's certainly something that it provides. It will create a postCSS config. Is that right? Have I got that already? Yeah, I've got a postCSS config. And I've got a TailWind config. And then we add this production into TailWind config in the purge section. TailWind config, purge becomes this. So that's just for your production build. That's great. I need to add the Gatsby postCSS into my Gatsby config. So in here, just make it a bit bigger. We're just going to want to add that one in. Okie dokie. And then I need to create a global.css and pop these guys into it. So in source styles, we need a global.css. So source, we'll create a new folder styles and a new file global.css. Yep, global.css, and put these directives in. So I think that works with postCSS. And then finally we need a Gatsby browser.js, and we need to add in this line here. I think I've got a Gatsby browser. Gatsby browser, and put in that. So that's basically, so we're not going to be doing any ES module imports here. These are global styles. They're going to be accessible throughout our application without doing anything now. At least that is what I'm hoping. So let's try and start the site up. And if I come in here and go to localhost, we should see it come up in a moment. Alright, it's all built. Give this a refresh. Is it just confused? Localhost 8000. Alright. So it hasn't broken anything yet. That's good. That's good. Now the page I'm going to be looking at is preparing for a beagle. And on here we have a few things where I have this side-by-side idea. So if you look here, when it's quite a big page, we have the image on the side, and then when I make it smaller, it flips it over. So we've got the responsive design for that implemented, but it has required me to create, let me get rid of that, and that one, and that one. So I've set this up with my semantic class names, these names that I've given it, side by side with space around, and this would just grow. And you know, I say I've got to learn the TailWind stuff. I've got to learn this and remember it, and it's not going to be useful whenever I go to another site. With TailWind, if I go and they're using that, I'm already in the know. So I think it's pretty cool in terms of, you know, not having to look after this guy anymore. It's just I've got to learn TailWind. But from my little experience with it, it's quite easy to learn actually. And particularly with this responsive stuff, it makes that a lot easier. Right, so we're ready to use it, I think. So if I look now, let me get rid of that bit there. So let's have a look for some of these things that I'm using. So you can see me doing ES imports here, which is pretty sweet because I know which ones I can see I'm using side by side. and I'm not using this guy because it's grayed out. So I can literally just delete these guys. So as I replace these with Tailwind stuff, I'm just going to delete them. Right, so I can see one here. Here we are, side by side. For this first picture, I have what do you need for a new puppy, and the text, and then we've got this image of Smudge. So if I come back here, make it full screen, we've got them side by side, and then it flips it with the responsive code, that media query as well. Right. So what can I replace this with? Well, not the container, actually, the side by side. So there are lots of essentially semantic class names in Tailwind. If I come back in here and we go to documentation, we're going to need a flexbox for this. So let's scroll down here and look at flex. And so we can see flex direction. Yeah, so things like, here's the class, here's the, like, this is what we would add. This is the TailWind CSS class, and here's what it's actually doing. So you could go and just add this to your site, but you wouldn't then get the other benefits of Tailwind as well. And this is a bit more succinct, and some of them obviously combine more than one property as well. But it is still quite low level. It's still building blocks. It's a little bit different to say, you know, it's along the lines of Bootstrap, but it's not a framework like Bootstrap. It's not providing all the other stuff that Bootstrap does, and the classes that it provides are kind of smaller building blocks. So we are going to be writing a few of them in. But to do side by side, I want to add flex row and also flex down here as well. So I'm just going to do in class flex row. You know, if we look at my side by side at the moment, it's saying display flex. By default, that is flex row. And then I've got quite a few other things that I'm doing on there as well. Now I could add those. I'm almost hoping that I'm not gonna need to. So we don't need the squigglies anymore. So I would just say flex and flex row. Now with my side by side, this is the default, and then I've got a media query down here for when the page is quite wide, so a non-mobile view. So actually no, this is the mobile view. This media query flicks it to side by side to be a column when we're on a mobile, when it's narrow, when it's less than 1,000. So there's quite a bit of code there to write, but we can override this here. So it's mobile first, Tailwind. So these will apply to all the sizes, and then we can override it for anything and above. So by default, I'm going to want flex col, which is the column class, and then I'm going to say from any medium-sized screen, I want it actually to be a row. And if I save that off, that should build, and we come into the site, and it should still just be working, shouldn't it? We shouldn't really see any difference if it's worked, which it hasn't, because I'm not getting the column when my page is small. Now, is that because Tailwind install hasn't worked? Or have I done something incorrect elsewhere? Actually, no, I don't need to restart this, I don't think. Let me give this a refresh though, in case there's okay, so hot module reload. It is a little bit iffy sometimes, whether that's Gatsby or what, I don't know. But that's cool. We've got a column now on a mobile view. and then when I expand it out, it goes to side by side. So that's pretty good. So previously I had to write this side by side class and this media query and set up these widths, but this is all provided for us, and you know, it's standard as well, and it's going to be consistent across our website straight away. Right, so that's pretty good there. I've got rid of one there. Let's try now. If I grab this, I should be able to replace all my side-by-sides with that. So here's a side-by-side space around. I'm going to do similar to that one. I'm going back to that one because it's an around one. I'm not totally sure. Here's a side-by-side. Let's get rid of that. This one is looking at crates. So before, well, actually, I will have saved it now. Let's have a look. If we scroll down, and there's the crate one. So I think that is working as well, is it? Okay, the crate one is not flipping to side by side. So it's, yeah. Is that just an update problem again? Let's give it a refresh. Expand this one out. I'm not quite sure which bit. So we've got puppy safety and then the image. Yeah, here's puppy safety. Oh yeah, this is the side-by-side around one. So let's replace that one because I want to see this one working as well. Okay. So we've got the image and then the text. Okay. So let's give it a refresh to be sure. Okay, puppy safety. Still not going side by side. I want this image should be coming over here, over to the side. Which my cursor's not showing today, is it? I probably want to try and add that on. 1 second. Not that one. Capture cursor. Does it update? Oh yeah, I got my cursor back. Cool. Right, why is this image there's quite a lot going on in this one. Now, ignore that, you didn't see that. Those will go. Right, I've got puppy safety. These are all at the top level. Yeah, when I come into puppy safety, I don't think that's contained within anything. That's not even, that one wasn't in side by side. Transporting your puppy is though. Let's look at that. Transporting your puppy has got an image to the side, and then as we get smaller, it's put it into column again. So that's working. The responsiveness is working there. I do want to flip that over so the image is beneath it. So if I save that off now, so transporting your puppy, and then you've got the image beneath it. Now, in my semantic class, I had it aligned so that at the moment this is over on the left, but I want this to come into the middle. And so let's go back into TailWind again and see what's provided for that. Let's have a look at it's not positioning, layout container. Flex wrap. Oh yeah, so box alignment. So I kind of want everything to be centered there. So if we look at place items, I can do a place items center, and that should bring that over there for us. So it's another TailWind class we can add straight in here. I would do place items center. So you can see it's quite verbose. It's almost like, you know, writing a style tag and doing display flex, you know, and flex direction. It is less verbose than writing it out like this, and it also means that we get our responsiveness thrown in and all the other things again, like dark mode and other stuff that I don't know about really yet that TailWind gives you. So it is definitely less verbose and easier to write than using the style tags, and it means less maintaining than having your own global semantically created class names that you've created. Anyway, so place items center, we add that on, and when I come and look at it now, which one was it? It was transporting your puppy, so it's over on the right there. But when I come in, if I refresh, I don't know why my HTML is not working, but there you go. It's put it into the middle now because of this place items center class, this TailWind class that we've added. All right, so it seems, you know, it seems pretty straightforward because once I've added these in, I'm deleting this global.modules file, and you know, trying to remember these names was getting troublesome already, and as the site grew, it's just going to get unmanageable, I think. So I'd much rather be putting this in. Once I've used to writing this, I think you'll just be able to add that in a lot easier. Right, let's have a look for a nav. So now I want this full thing here on a side by side. So let's look for side by side. Here we go. I'll replace another one here, which is talking about where will your puppy sleep. I'll replace those because they're a bit lazy. We'll sort those out. All right, so this should give us some good functionality for where will your puppy sleep. Puppy safety, where will your puppy sleep? All right, so let's refresh it because that might have been using the old class. All right, so I've got the text and the images beneath it on a small view, and then as I expand, it loses its spot. But if we try and find it again, where will your puppy sleep now puts it out to the side. It's not quite right in that I probably want the two images here side by side as well, because we've got all this dead space in here. So we can do that though if I just get rid of this and say so what am I going to want? By default we're mobile first, so we've got to think what we want on the small screen first, and that is is it always going to be side by side, I think, isn't it? Even on both screens. So we'd have flex and flex row, I think. So let's give that a refresh. Right, so we've got them side by side here, and that looks a bit better. It's all a bit cramped, but that looks better than having that dead space for sure. And then when we come back into a mobile screen, where will your puppy sleep? Yeah, still side by side is obviously, we don't want them on top of each other. So it would just be flex and flex row in there. And you starting to get the feel for it. It's quite easy to add these classes. Yeah. Let's have another look. Let's look for the next. So if I go back and grab my side-by-side replacement and then do another search for side-by-side, right, in this toys section, we're just going to paste that in like so. And I'm going to do similar for this part here. So we've got two images, and I'm just going to want them always to be side by side. So we do flex and flex row. We save that off, and then let's have a look at toys section. So toys, give it a refresh. Okay, so at the moment the two images are still staying in a column. And that's because I made a typo. Alright, so we save that off. Oh, it refreshed that time. Good. Alright, that looks good on the small screen. And then they should stay. Where's toys? Come back up. Yeah, when we go wide, they stay side by side. And that looks pretty cool, I think. Okay. Get rid of these again. What will you use to walk your puppy with? This one, again, hasn't got anything around it. But here's another side by side. So I'm going to pop in that same code, which by default means we're vertical. We've got a column. And then on a wider screen, we go to side by side. And in all cases, we want everything nicely centered. Okay, so what food will you give your puppy? Let's have a look at that one. What food? Nice. Yep, side by side. Small screen. And it comes underneath. So TailWind is great. It's great for responsive design. I'm not messing around with media queries. So it's kind of similar to Bootstrap in that it really helps you out with this. But a little lower level design. You haven't got this this idea of 8 or how many blocks you have across a screen. It's more just using flexbox, using grid. Yeah, it doesn't give you a set design. So again, a little bit more lower level, but pretty nice to use. Okay. So have I got any more side by side? The way I can tell if I've completed this is with ES modules. If I'm no longer referencing a class, it's grayed out. So I know I've replaced side by side now. It's not used anywhere. It's grayed out. So I can get rid of that one. That's good. That's gone. And space around. We've replaced those. They are gone. So I'm going to nuke them as well from within my global module. So side by side is gone there. Side by side is gone there. We don't need it in the media query. So that should be good. Just check I haven't broken anything. Just check it is good. Let's go to the top. Okay, so that looks nice. Expand it out. Flips over to the side. Yep, that all looks still good. Alrighty, if I now look at the next one, let's look at the vertical list. So where have we got that? In fact, I've got a vertical list 50% width here. See, these names you've got to give things, you can end up with so many of them if you're doing extra stuff on a vertical list. You're trying to say it's vertical list and it's this, so you've got another name. But I think with TailWind, you're just going to build it here. So how would we build that? What does it do? It does a flex and a flex column, and it places things in the center. And then we start talking about the width, and that is going to be somewhere where TailWind helps us out to keep things consistent as well. So we'll have a look at that. Right, so let's replace that. So what, like we say, what is it? It's a display flex, so we just say flex. It's a column, so it's flex col. Place item center, place items center. I don't think is there any, yeah, there is responsive design on this. Flex column, although that is it's what it does. Well, I think what it tries to do, yeah, the width. So we don't restrict the width on mobiles. So when it's small, we want it to fill the full screen. Now, there is a way to do that. If we go in here into TailWind, and here we go. So let's go down to width here in sizing. It's a little bit small, isn't it? Sorry, let me just increase the size of this. Right, so you've got various widths in terms of rems, but then there's also like things like this for 50%, which we could use for the screen size and stuff. So you do width dash a half, and then you've got like width 100 view width, so that is W screen, and that's what we're going to want in the mobile view. So mobile view is first, it's mobile first, so I'm going to say full screen. So by default full screen, but then when we get to a medium-sized screen, I'm going to restrict it to half of it. So we're going to say width a half. Right. So this is where it says, you know, it starts to look a little ugly, and certainly if you didn't know these tags, then that does look quite ugly, but I'm getting used to them pretty quick. I like this full screen one here as well. Okay, so let's save that off. Where are we in? What do you need for a new puppy? Let's come back in. What do you need for a new puppy? So this bit is working on the header and the text beneath it. Basically, I think I'm restricting the width so that when we go full screen like this, the text doesn't take up all of it. So it's only taking a half. You know, if I restrict that now to say a third, it should cut it off more over here. Yeah. I say this is only allowed a third of the screen. I'll refresh that. You can see that's cut it off here now. So it's applying that. We'll leave it at half because that looks better. And there's a bit more work to do to get the image to fill out then as well, because we're doing the whole thing here. But that does make that look quite nice. Let's just check it's still working when we go to a mobile. Yeah, that is still good there. All right. Oh, this one's grayed out. He's gone. Okay, so we can nuke that one. That one's no longer needed. And then I'm going to copy this because we're going to do similar. If I look up here, vertical list is very similar to vertical list, 50%. It just doesn't have the width restricted. So let's have a look for vertical list. Here's one here. I'm going to replace that with this stuff, but I'm not going to restrict it. It's always going to be full width. And this is on the crate stuff again, puppy safety. So let's have a look at, let's give it a refresh just to be sure. And then puppy safety. So that looks pretty good there. And then as I come out, we'll find it again. Puppy safety. I can't remember what we had for puppy safety in terms of this picture coming out to the side. Yeah, puppy safety doesn't do anything. It always just keeps it column. But this that we've added is just making sure our image and its URL look good. So this part here, they are just always in a column. And I'm saying full screen here, aren't I? But I'm restricted by what's above me. So I'm not totally sure. I don't want to really get into the details of that one. But I think that's still good. All right. So what other vertical? Oh, vertical list is gone now then. That was our last one of those. So I'm going to nuke that. Now I've got iframe max width 50%. I can replace that with my screen. I can just say, what can I say? I literally say width a half, I think. And that should do that. Where is this? This is with the crate. This is the image. No, this is the YouTube video near where we say we found an exercise pen. That's this video here. Yeah. And we're saying, right, it can only be maximum of 50% now. Which I guess it's kind of doing. It's doing 50% of this. I've got issues over why I'm not using this whole screen, but that is the container, and I'll resolve that in a minute, I think. But hopefully that one is good, and it's grayed out, so it's gone. And then the container. In fact, let me get rid of these, so I don't need vertical list anymore, nor 50%, nor the iframe, and don't know whether I don't think that one was used. So container now, the thing around our whole screen here. What does it do? It's just a flex. It's just a vertical flex. So it's flex and flex col, and that would mean container's gone. And I definitely don't need media queries. And we can see container's gone here, so I don't need that anymore. So this file is now converted to TailWind. If I come in here, wow, that broke it. Okay, that was the container, was it? No, it was just half of the changes in. I think because I deleted the container or something. I don't know. Anyway, it looks good. It still looks good, and it still works in flipping it over for the mobile view. Oh, and is my size? Yeah, the size looks a little better, I think. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. There's quite a lot of work to do with the styling. Certainly, like here, I would want these to be centered. Let me have a look for where that is. So there's this, and then I've got the two images beneath it. Again, I've got no flex box around that. That's why. So I would add that in, but that's fine. That's just fine tuning. So yeah, I think pretty good there. So then I would, I'm going to go and add that into the rest of the pages, and all of these modules will go. Well, the global one will go. I'll still probably have some. If I want to say, I'm not sure if it's going to replace something like, if I look at this and I want to put a margin on the top of these headers to make sure there's a bit of separation there. I don't know if TailWind does that. Well, it's got margin here. So would I just add margin to each of my I guess I would just add that to each of my headers. An M, say an M20 is margin. Okay, well, if that's what you say. M20 is margin 5 rem. So M20. So let's have a look at this one here. Transporting your puppy header. I want it to push down. Safety. Transporting your puppy. So would I then just do class name M20? Give that a save. Okay, yeah, that pushes it down. So I don't think, again, I don't want to be creating like a semantic class like, you know, initially then I was thinking, right, do I come in here and say something like, you know, header margin, and give that like, yeah, 5 rem. So again, I'd be creating a semantic class that I've got to remember to use. You know, I'd have to remember to use that name whenever I'm doing it. Whereas now it's more functional. So I just add that margin on. Yeah, you know, if you want to change it for the whole page and you had that semantic name, then that in some ways is easier, because, you know, this is more like just saying style. So I'm not sure quite where that lands in terms of maintainability. If you want to across the whole site change the margins that your header is doing, if you had that in a global class, you could change it there, whereas this is more low level. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. You know, whether I'm doing that quite right to do that, I don't know. It's certainly nice though. I certainly like it, and I thought it'd be hard. I thought, oh, you're gonna have to learn these things, but they're quite obvious what they are. You know, they're not crazy names. They're not like what I've had in there. They're not like side by side 50% extra margin super mode. You know, that they relate to the properties that they actually are. Right, so I'd have to go through and do the rest of my site. I'm going to do it. I'm going with TailWind. I think it's a go. Right, well, let me know what you think in the comments, if you've used before or you're going to use, and what you think about the way I'm doing, certainly that header part there. But thanks for watching. Give me a thumbs up if you liked that, thumbs down if not, and don't forget to click subscribe for future videos, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.